Hey, what's up, guys? It's Chicken Sandwich here, and I'm bringing you a new kind of card game that's been released. It's a card game of one of my favorite series of all time. It's Digimon Fusion. That's the name of the card game. Well, it's a very simple card game. The object of the game is to get code crowns, which, if you're not familiar with the Digimon Fusion game, is something like this right here. This code crown right here. I'll give an explanation of the game, and what's going to happen is that I will give you a sample turn of a game. It really requires two people to show, but this is kind of fun. What happened is if you go out and buy the deck, you get everything you need for the game. Each deck will come with 5 code crowns, and what it does is you have first you'll shuffle up your code crowns at the beginning of the game. There's 5 in each deck. You have no more, no less, and there will be a mat. I would put out the mat for it, but it's just not something I really wanted to do. For this demo, I'm going to show you here. See my awesome pancake sleeves. They're pretty cool. They are the lead. I believe the brand is called Legion. So here I'm going to give you a sample of how to kind of play the game. I'm going to show you what a turn would consist of. Now, whenever you play the game, both players take the same turn. The turn at the same time. The only difference is each player takes turn with priority, and priority has a lot to do with how your turns turn out. So I'm going to shuffle up my deck real quick. I mean, this won't be a meta deck, if there is even a meta right now. What's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and shuffle up my deck, simulate it, so I'm cutting my cards, and I'm going to put my draw. There's a couple areas in this. Say I win my dice roll, that means I have priority. First thing you do is you draw your first 5 cards. Start out. Alright, I draw my 5 cards. The person with priority will reveal their code crown, which will be this. This is a green zone, but more specifically you'll look at this one as the Village of Smiles, and it'll have, because there will be several green zones, but Village of Smile is what you really need to look at, because in this game you can only have a limit of 3 of any cards. That includes code crowns, and there are different types of cards, and I will go through and I'll explain them. It says everyone. It has a little red symbol right here, which is Fusion Fighters, or Cross Heart if you have watched the Japanese version of the show. It says Cross Heart or Fusion Fighters gets plus 100 power. Alright, after code crown does this, you can both players will set a Digimon. I've set this. After both is set, you will reveal. Like in Vanguard, it's stand up my Vanguard, kind of. And up here on the corner here, is the cost. The cost is paid by discarding cards. I will choose to discard this card right here. It can be any card out of your hand. There are 2 kinds of cards in your deck. There are Digimon, and there are Digimemories. Digimemories are kind of like spells or traps if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Magic instance or sorcerers if you're a Magic the Gathering player. I mean, there's all kinds of different terms here. I paid this right here, and then we go into the Diffusion Phase. Priority goes first, which means that I would be able to fuse. I do not have a card that would allow me to fuse, Digifuse, but I will show you later how to Digifuse. I will bring out my cards and show you what everything means. Alright, actually I can Digifuse. I can Digifuse this card right here. This is Shoutmon cross 2. If you're in Japanese, I don't know what they call it in America. It's cross 2. And up here it has a cost. It says DF right here. That's Digifuse. Then it has a cross heart symbol. And what happens is I can pay that anywhere from my hand, my field, or my training zone. My training zone, I'll show you in just a minute what that means. I will discard this from the field to summon Ballistamon. Well, no, Shoutmon Cross 2. I keep thinking it's Ballistamon because it looks most like Ballistamon. You can barely see the Shoutmon part of it. Alright, the next phase, well, this also has an ability called Fusion. When it fuses, if it's summoned by this fusion effect, it gets this ability. If it gets 300 power when it's boosted, which I'll show you in the next phase. You get the fusion phase, then you go into boosted phase. The boosting phase, it's not determined by priority. It's by the person who has the lowest power. I have 800 power. Say I have one who's digifused somebody up to 1,000. I would go up first, and the way you do it is you'll take and you'll place the card underneath it. There's a power rating here and a boosted rating on this side of the card. I'm going to boost with this Shoutmon right here, and it has a cost of 1. So you'll use that in cost not only for summoning, but you'll also use it for a boosting. And what happens is when you fuse, you use this number right here for the boosting power, like boosting in Vanguard, kind of. And I will boost my Shoutmon X2 by 700 points. That's the number on this one side for Shoutmon, and then the 800 for Shoutmon Cross 2, and then he gets an extra 300, so he's up 1800. Now what would happen next is after the boost phase is done, we'll go into battle phase. The person who has the highest power wins the battle, and they claim the code crown, like triggers in Vanguard. If you win your code crown, it goes face up. If you win your opponent's, it goes face down. The reason for this is most people don't take design of. This is a design for the card game. If you're not wearing half sleeves, that way you can determine whose code crown is what. First 1 to 5 wins. Now, if I win this, both my Digimon go to the graveyard. Or actually, I had to pay the 1 cost, so I have an empty hand. Both my Digimon will go to the graveyard. I would claim the code crown. Now, if I had lost that battle, my X2 is there, my Shoutmon. I would have lost this. My opponent would have got my code crown. My Shoutmon Cross 2 will go to the training zone, and everything attached to it will go to the graveyard. My opponent like there. And then next turn would come up. Every turn you fill your hand until you have 5 cards. Okay, that is a sample turn. Alright, now that's a sample turn. We will go into explanation of cards and areas. Alright, let me get some examples here from cards for you. Okay, these are the examples of the 3 major cards. Well, I'll get a Digimemory out here to explain. This right here is a regular Digimon card. It has a cost, it has a power, it has an effect too, and it has a boosting power. Now on the card right here, it'll say effects, like if it is summoned, like during the summoning phase, it'll gain an effect based on that. There's one that says draw 1 card. This one says if this card gets 200 powers when it's boosted. So this card gets 200 powers if I take and I boost it with just any old card. This Shoutmon, for example. The Shoutmon is very good. It costs 1 and gives 700 boost. See, it gives 700 boost. And it's really fun. Now, this right here is Shoutmon with Star Sword. There are several versions of the same Digimon in this. It's based on rarities and like fusion combinations. This is the Star Sword version. Now, I'm going to show you one of my favorite cards in the deck. it is Shoutmon Cross 3. This is a Digifuse card. You can summon it with its cost up here. Now that cost up there, it's going to be, you can do that, but it's more cost effective to summon a different Digimon and then pay the cost. That says Cross Heart in 1. That means that's kind of like the 1 is kind of like a colorless mana in Magic the Gathering, which means you can pay it with anything, but it requires 1 Cross Heart. You can use and you can pay that cost using anything out of your hand on the field. Say I have this Shoutmon right here on the field, and I have this right here, and I had that in my training zone. I can I discard that, summon that, and discard that for the remainder of the cost, and I can summon it. It just requires a Fusion Fighter and any one of them. There are 4 factions in the game. There's Fusion Fighter, Nightmare, Blue Flare, and Bagra Army. Now, there are 2 decks out right now. One of them is the I call it the Shoutmon Deck because it has both Nightmare and Crossheart, or Fusion Fighters, if you will. I'm going to call it Crossheart because it's just a cooler name. It has those in there, and it comes with Digimemories. What it is this one right here. This is Marine Angemon. It's probably one of my favorite Digimemories in the game that I've seen so far. It has you can only play this during the battle phase, and it costs 1. It has a cost like everything else. Cancel this battle. Move the battling Digimon to the owner's training area. That means both Digimon go there. And I haven't quite figured out the ruling of what happens to the code crown. I mean, it's not 1 or anything. So I might have to look that up. But this is a pretty fun card game. There are some pretty cool code crowns. There's one in here that says like that they all have unique effects to them. Like this one says all Crossheart get plus 100 power. This one says Crossheart gets -1 fusion cost. And it says when your battling Digimon is boosted by a Crossheart, it gets 100 power. So like I can use something else besides Crossheart as long as I boost. And this one's another one that says 100 power. Now, this game is pretty fun. I recommend a lot of people go and pick it up. It's $10 for a deck. My locals for card games only got 1 case of the deck, so I was only able to pick up 1, but I got it while I could, and it sold out pretty fast. There was some booster packs pulled, and I bought a couple booster packs. I think I picked up that Shoutmon Cross 3. There's some, and this is a card I would like to note. This one right here. This one has an effect that says Boost Phase, which means I can activate it during the Boost Phase. And what it says is you may reveal this card from your hand, then move it to your training area. So I just go, I do like this right here, and then I just move it to my training area. That's and then I can hold on to that for another turn, draw my cards, and that way I have essentially 6 cards to pay for anything. Say I have this Shoutmon and I want to pay for it, I can do this instead of discarding out of my hand. It leaves a little bit more options. Now, the 2 decks that are out is of course the Shoutmon deck, and the other one is Greymon. Everybody knows Greymon from Digimon the first season, but the one thing you need to realize is it's a different kind of Greymon. It's kind of a black Greymon. It has a different design, and it's of the Blue Flare army. That deck is more control than this one. This one is more aggro, if you speak in Magic the Gathering terms. This is an aggro deck. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that costs free, and says this one right here says this is Starmon's. When this card is used to boost, you may perform an additional boost this turn, and this is free. So I can boost with that, and if I had another Starmon, I can do that. Boost again, and just like it's meant to win battles by brute force. The other one is more control and discarding cards out of hands, and whenever a discard happens, it's more detrimental. Also to note, when you play a game, you will run out of cards when you draw. Now, the ruling on this one, unlike other card games, is, well, most other card games is if you can't draw, like most other card games says, if you can't draw, then you have to, then you lose. This one here is, say I have a hand of like 2 cards here, and I go, I need to draw a card. Well, and here's my Greymon. I need to draw a card. What you do is you take and you flip over the deck, you give it a quick shuffle, and then you'll put it back, and then you'll start drawing your cards from there. So I think the game is fun. I think everybody should give it a try. And this has been a chicken sandwich. And if you like this kind of video, leave a comment down below, like the video, and yeah, just give it a thumbs up. And if you are coming here from to check out this video, please check out my other content. I am a gamer. I post Call of Duty content and some other games some other times. I like to do commentaries every once in a while. And Call of Duty is just easy, so check those out. And this has been a chicken sandwich. Glad you guys have decided to watch this video.